I'm Elder James Johnson. I am the National President of Racial Justice Network, and we are here on this sad occasion of Mr. Sullivan's death in the county jail. This organization honored the wishes of the family that they do not want the public to see the video, but at some point for the civil rights organization itself to have check and balance on this agency, the civil rights organization has to see that video. A few years back, the solicitor created a command post to actually investigate the police shootings and the taser shooting, and she promised transparency. That has not been done in this case. This incident happened in January. Here it is April, and the civil rights organization has not been called to a meeting to see exactly what has taken place. We want transparency. That's all we want. All across America, black men are dying from police shootings or taser shootings. There's no exception here. The city of Charleston is trigger happy now. There's 2 shootings in the city of Charleston, and we can't get transparency from the city of Charleston on video and body cam. We want transparency. We will not sit and rest until these agencies do what they need to do. There's a lot of unanswered questions that we are going to point out today that we want answers. And we want to start with the president of the Charleston chapter, Reverend Glover.
Good morning. I just want to say I send my condolences to the family of Jamal, and I also like to say to the Sheriff Department, we are demanding changes in your policy. I know that there are policies in place from formerly being a part of Charleston County. So therefore, we need to go back and make some necessary changes dealing with mental health individuals that comes into Charleston County Jail, especially when they should not have been into the jailhouse setting, period, because of not following protocol or following policy and procedures as far as somebody have mental conditions. That person is to be reevaluated and taken to a mental facility instead of being incarcerated into the jailhouse setting, because you could bring on more issues than the person already have from being incarcerated. And we also wanting to let you know that you will be held accountable for incidents of unprofessionalism of officers within Charleston County Sheriff Department and all other law enforcement agencies here in Charleston County. There's no exceptions. There's no exception at all. We all are human beings, so you will be held accountable. If you cannot do the job, then you don't need to be a part of law enforcement. That's just it, because we're not going to sit back and accept anything less coming from law enforcement agencies where your negligence is causing somebody's life. That will no longer be accepted here in Charleston County. We're not going to accept it no more. This death should not have even come before us. Why? Because he should not have been in the jailhouse setting, period, because of his conditions. So I know that there are body cams, there are videos of the incident, which we want to see. We know the family does not want to be a part of the public setting, but Racial Justice Network, we are demanding those videos. We want to see those videos for ourselves. Therefore, we can see where the negligence took place or the unprofessionalism of the officers took place. Okay. And so we're demanding transparency. I will leave to you, my vice chair.
Hello, everyone. My name is Miracle Mosey. So we have a lot of questions here. I first want to start off with the first question. Why was Jamal transported to Alcannon versus a hospital or another mental health facility that was suitable for his needs? The second question is, how did that process impact his mental state? We know that a person with schizophrenia may have hallucinations, delusions, confused thoughts, and we believe these symptoms may have contributed to his agitation. Jamal was confused as to what was going on and why was this happening. We believe that Jamal could not handle the situation mentally, physically, or emotionally. Jamal had no prior criminal history before this incident. Jamal's civil rights was violated. He was disrespected and not treated fairly. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Michaela McCullen, the Secretary of the Racial Justice Network. And we have some questions. We demand to know how Mr. Sutherland was failed by the Mental Health Department. We know there are protocols in place to ensure the safety of mental health patients, so why weren't they followed? Was he reevaluated and stabilized by his mental health team before he was transported to Alcannon County Jail? What transpired from the time that Mr. Sutherland left Palmetto Behavioral Health to Alcannon Detention Center for them to do what they did? For someone who has dealt with the mental health institution since a teenager, why was the first step to arrest him or send him to a county jail instead of a mental health institution? Those are the questions we have, and we need answers on them.
Here's Reverend McLean from the Minister Alliance.
Ed McLean, the Interdenominational Ministers Alliance. I too would like to know some answers to some of the questions asked. I'd like to know why is it that we do not hear from the departments that we are to hear from? Why is it that it's so late, the news, and getting to us? We need to hear the answers to these questions right away. I'm of the point now where I see things are re-happening over and over and over again. And I'm tired of it. I'm looking now for some answers. And I'd like to see these answers come readily when something happens, and not after it has gone down the line for 3 or 4 months. So that's my concern, that's my question, and those are my concerns. And I'm hopeful that we can get some answers to the questions. Thank you so much.
Any questions for one of us? Simply because we are calling under the Freedom of Information Act for the video for the Civil Rights Organization to examine that video. We also will be writing the Justice Department to have them to do the investigation on this Mr. Sutherland death. So we want answers. We want answers. And there's been, in 2021, there's been death by a police officer in Charleston County. It's probably the 3rd one. Are they practicing de-escalation? Are they just reacting off impulse? We want answers, especially from Chief Reynolds and Mayor Tecklenburg down there in the last 2 shootings. Racial Justice Network will not sit back and allow this to happen. If the police officers are trigger happy, we want them off the force. Just as simple as that. Any questions?
Obviously, both Sheriff Graziano and Solicitor Wilson released statements yesterday. Kind of talk to me about your initial thoughts and your response to their statements.
Well, myself and Solicitor Wilson had a conversation all last week. I don't agree with their thoughts of especially not releasing the video to to the public, they can redact the videos and still release it to the public. The public needs to know exactly what kind of solicitor officer we have, a police department that serve in the community. A lot of things that she said, you know, I don't agree with it. First of all, she made a promise of getting in touch with the civil rights organization, you know, before she gives statements. She haven't did that. So I don't agree in all what she says.
What is your relationship with the family in this case? If they don't want the video released, can you just elaborate a little bit more on what your relationship is with
My relationship,
the family?
I don't have a relationship with the family. When it first happened, the family wanted to talk to me, and that did not happen. This is way beyond the family now. And our wishes at Racial Justice Network is actually agreeing with the family, not wanting the video to release to the public. We agreed to that. But when it comes to the civil rights organization, it must be checks and balance. We need to see the video, the civil rights organization itself, so we can know exactly what the decision to make, you know, calling the Justice Department. We don't know what the decision the solicitor is going to make. And that's what we're waiting on. The officer could be, decision could be not guilty. Or the decision can be, you know, prosecute the officer. We want to know.
So to be clear, you guys want the video released to your organization, not to the public?
Not to the public, right.
And again, just to be clear, have you been in touch with the family other than that initial conversation that was supposed to happen but didn't take place?
I say again, at the beginning, we reach out to the family, they didn't reach back. This is beyond the family. This is a civil rights issue. If somebody's dying, like I said earlier, we heed the wishes of the family and not releasing the video to the public. I agree with that 100%. That's their wishes. But you gotta understand, there's checks and balances and there's in laws. You know, Freedom of Information Act is very strong. So all we want to do is see exactly what happened and what we need to move forward as a civil rights organization.
Question on you kind of touched on the city of Charleston. Have you had conversations with Chief Reynolds and Mayor Tecklenburg on the trigger happy comment?
I've had conversation with Chief Reynolds. Chief Reynolds actually don't want to speak with me because he figured that I'm too radical. I've been to meetings down there where he's ignoring me and questions that I ask. Chief Reynolds and Mayor Tecklenburg have succeeded in picking their own black leaders to speak for the community. So that's all right with me, but I'm a national organization that can't stop me from speaking to the community at all. But there must be, especially the city of Charleston, there must be check and balances. They out of control with being trigger happy and shooting people. And we're sending a message to them right now, that's not gonna happen. Chief Reynolds need to know that's not gonna happen. It's happening under his watch since he became the police chief, but it's not gonna happen. We're not gonna sit back and let him, his police department, start shooting at people. You know, we're not gonna do it, just as simple as this. And we have asked for, under the Freedom of Information Act, on the last shootings in Bridgeview, we asked for the dash cams. We fill out the information. We have not received it yet. We have not received that information yet from Chief Reynolds, the department down there. And what gets me all the time is that with having the community suspicious, they're going to tell you we have to wait till SLED investigation is over. SLED investigation can take 6 to 8 weeks, you know, but the public want to know right away. If they have nothing to hide, they would release the body in the dash cams. It's up to Chief Reynolds to do that. He don't have to wait on SLED. SLED is just a recommendation organization, you know, so he can release it. That's the last argument, conversation we had. Chief Reynolds, will you release the dash cams in the Bridgeview shooting? And his statement was, no, we won't release it until SLED complete their investigation. That's not transparency. So that's where we are on that.
I guess my last question would be, if anyone else died in Charleston County Sheriff's Office or the jail, would it take this long to get the results you're searching for?
That's why we're here now. We do not want that to happen. We want transparency the next day. And all through this country, all through America, that's what black folks are demanding, transparency. The next day or 2 or 3 days later. And we demanding it here right now, transparency. And that's what we want. No more 30 days or 45 days of that. And you know the results of that, especially the city of Charleston, we will protest down in their community downtown where they're tourists at. We will do the protest down there and let them know that, you know, no, this is not gonna happen. We're not gonna allow this to happen. We want transparency and we want it right away. There's too many people are getting killed in the city of Charleston, are getting shot in the city of Charleston. The county jail, we understand we got a new administration. We'll give her a chance to change the policy and the procedures. What she said to me at one time, these policies with the last sheriff, these policies and procedures were not in place with the last sheriff. We'll give her the opportunity, the benefit of the doubt, to put these policies and procedures. North Charleston, they need communication and not taking mentally ill victims directly to the jail. They should have a facility to take them before the jail. That's what we want. That's what we demand. That's what we demand.
Thank you.
I have one more question for you. So in the solicitor's report and the coroner's report, it appeared, while the cause of death was unfounded, or whatever the actual term was, they seemed to suggest that there was that he died from basically excitement. And we've seen sort of that, I cannot think of the term, but we've seen sort of that issue pop up in other police incidents. Can you talk to that, I guess, cause of death that they hinted at?
Well, when you put a split bag over the head later.
About to say, well, Jamal was tased due to his refusal to attend his bond hearing, and with a patient with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, you're putting them in an agitated state with the spit bag over his face and him being tased. That could have been the excitement in his heart to cause his heart to race or whatever the case might have been. But with someone having those mental disabilities, or that's something that should have not happened, something that should have been prevented with someone in those conditions. Go ahead.
And ultimately, that's why we're trying to fill in the blanks to figure out exactly what happened. Just because, like she said, a spit bag was placed over his head. I mean, he could have got excited or agitated. That's common with a person with schizophrenia. But we have to know how to handle that situations. So I understand that there are protocols in place, but are those same protocols supposed to be used for people with a mental health disability? No.
And that's the question of why was he transferred to the county jail instead of a mental health facility where his needs could have been taken care of properly. So the question is still there. Were the protocols in place handled or followed? No, they weren't. We wouldn't be here if they were.